What's up, you guys? Thank you so much for coming back for another week of Fantasera football. It is Tuesday. That means we're doing my week 4 recap. Aside from being super salty about the Broncos-Chiefs game last night, I am pretty happy with my predictions that I made for week 4. I'll let you know what I was right about, what I was wrong about, tell you who ruined my parlay, and let's get into it. Starting with what I was wrong about, this one was kind of a toss-up. I actually said that I did think that the Bengals-Falcons game would be high scoring. I did advise starting Andy Dalton over Matt Ryan. They both ended up playing well, but Matt Ryan did outperform Andy Dalton with 419 yards for 3 touchdowns. Before we go any further, I have to go on a rant about Matt Ryan. How does Julio Jones not have a single touchdown so far this season and only had 3 last season? I understand that because he's Julio Jones, he's often double covered, maybe even triple covered, but isn't his ability to go up and get the ball part of what makes him such a great receiver? Like, you don't see Andy Dalton not throwing to AJ Green. You don't see Ben Roethlisberger not throwing it to Antonio Brown. These are elite receivers. Throw them the ball. Julio Jones should score a touchdown every game, period. I don't even have Julio Jones in my fantasy team. I didn't have him last year. I didn't have him the year before, but it still pisses me off that he does not score touchdowns. 3 touchdowns all of last season and none so far this season, and we're in week 4. Come on, Matt. I have another quarterback that I was pretty wrong about. Last week on Thursday, I told you guys not to start Kirk Cousins because I said that I didn't think he'd bounce back after a loss. I think I'd call 422 yards and 3 touchdowns bouncing back after a loss. So if you sat Kirk Cousins, like this guy, you made a mistake. So sorry for that advice. Yep, that's the guy I played this week. Not only did he keep Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, and Cooper Kupp on the bench, let's take a look at who his starting quarterback was. Sucks to suck. I'm just kidding. I can't even really talk crap because I got smashed in my other league. So let's move on. On Thursday, I told you guys that I was going to start Ben Roethlisberger. What I didn't tell you is that I was starting him over Tom Brady. So Tom's been making me a little nervous so far this season, and I thought Ben would do what he does usually against the Ravens. Didn't happen. However, on Sunday, when we were watching the pregame, my fiance and I saw Tom Brady run out, and we were just kind of like, he looks a little angry. So if you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, you should, because stuff like this happens, and I could have saved you from Ben Roethlisberger, I went ahead and posted this emergency alert. Did end up benching Ben and putting in Brady, so shout out to my fiance for helping me pull the trigger on that one. Unfortunately, it didn't matter because I still got smashed in that fantasy league. So aside from my parlay, those were the things that I was wrong about in my predictions for week 4, so now we will move on and let you know what I was right about. I recommended starting Andy Dalton over Matt Ryan. Both quarterbacks performed well. Andy Dalton threw for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns in that road win over Atlanta. I advised starting Phillip Rivers. He threw for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. I also advised starting Giovanni Bernard. He ended up rushing for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he got a lot of points for his fantasy owners. I advised sitting Matt Breida with Jimmy Garoppolo being out. Turns out that he only rushed for 39 yards and no touchdowns. On Thursday, I advised sitting Derrick Henry against the Eagles. Turns out that he only rushed for 24 yards on 8 carries, no touchdowns, so that's definitely somebody you want to have on your bench. I also mentioned that you might want to sit Deshaun Jackson against Chicago. While he did have over 100 receiving yards, 112, no touchdowns, and we're just kind of seeing a gradual decline in Deshaun Jackson and his performance as the season goes on. He started off really strong, starting to kind of fade away a little bit. I also mentioned sitting Stefon Diggs, or at least definitely starting Adam Thielen over him. Stefon Diggs had 123 yards, but no touchdowns. And again, Adam Thielen proving he is that dominant receiver in Minnesota, 135 yards and a touchdown. And finally, a few of my week 4 sleepers worked out. That's always nice. If you watched my video on Thursday, I had both James White of the New England Patriots and Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers as my sleepers at running back. Both of them ended up scoring a touchdown in week 4. For wide receivers, I had Amari Cooper as my sleeper. I know that both he and the Raiders have been disappointing this season, and nobody is enjoying that more than I am, but I did say that they had to step it up. They could not afford to lose to the Cleveland Browns and start the season 0-4. They ended up coming back and winning in overtime. Amari Cooper finished the game with 128 yards on 8 receptions and a touchdown, so I sure hope he didn't do that while he was sitting on your bench. So Raider fans, you're safe. No Raider bashing video this week, but there's plenty of season left. Now to discuss my parlay. I really felt good about this one. Like, I went through, I double checked all my picks, and I was like, this is it. This is gonna be the week that I win, says every degenerate sports gambler ever. But really, like, Thursday started out good. I had the over, it went over by like 20 points. The Patriots killed the Dolphins, which is funny to me because I had quite a few people telling me not to take New England -6.5. Oh, well, you know, Sarah, the Patriots are struggling this year and Miami always plays them really tough in Boston. First of all, the Patriots have Tom Brady. Oh, and that part about Miami always playing New England tough, the Dolphins have actually lost the last 10 games at Gillette Stadium. So, fun fact. So here I am feeling all good about my parlay. The Patriots are smashing the Dolphins. The over already happened on Thursday. I had the Eagles -4. I'm like, of course the Eagles are going to beat the Titans by 4. They just won the Super Bowl. Wrong. The Eagles blew their lead and lost to the Titans 26-23 in overtime. But that wasn't the only thing that went wrong. I also bet the under in the Houston Texans-Indianapolis Colts game since they haven't really been offensive powerhouses. That is until I bet the under. So that's what happened to my parlay. Now we will talk about the saddest part of week 4, the Broncos-Chiefs game last night. Last night was weird because I wanted to be really happy about our defense because we were getting that pressure on Pat Mahomes, but we just could not take him to the ground. And it was almost like the more he scrambled, the better he did. On the run, Von Miller is right here, and you're just gonna, well, I think I'll just put it over in my left hand and go ahead and throw it and get a first down. Like, who does that? This dude is 23 years old and he's making plays like that. You got to give credit where credit's due. Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. And Andy Reid has so many weapons on this offense. I'm expecting the Chiefs to win the division. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they win the AFC Championship. But we do have to address something. You see that big 0 behind Patrick Mahomes? That's the game clock. I think it's fair to assume that most of the people watching these videos are familiar with the basic rules of football, but in case there are some that are not, let me explain. It's fairly simple. You have until that clock hits 0 to snap the ball. As you can see, the clock is at 0 and the football is not yet in Patrick Mahomes' hands, which should be a penalty. Now, I'm not going to be the person that sits here and says if the officials call that delay of game penalty, the Broncos would have won the game. I don't know what would have happened, but I can state the facts. Those are that the Kansas City Chiefs were down by 3 and it was 3rd and 7. If that delay of game penalty gets called, like it should have, that pushes them back. Now, maybe the Chiefs kick a field goal, regulation ends in a tie, and we go to overtime. I don't know who would have won in overtime, but I know that the Kansas City Chiefs should not have been able to convert that 3rd and 7 and then ultimately end up scoring the game-winning touchdown to beat the Broncos by 4. Broncos did blow their lead. They were up by 10. They had Patrick Mahomes at 2nd and 30, I think it was. They allowed him to throw a 20-something yard pass and then converted on the next 3rd down, marched down the field. That should have never happened. That's why I'm not sitting here saying that that one delay of game penalty was what lost us the game, because it wasn't. But come on, dude. Kickers, you got one job. Kick a field goal. Refs, you got one job, okay? It's not like your flag is in your little wallet and you got to go dig it out. You're looking at the game clock. You see 0. Ball isn't snapped yet. Throw the flag. Plain and simple. So I lost one of my fantasy leagues. I lost my parlay. I had to pay my friend $10, and he now gets to choose 3 Kansas City Chiefs profile pictures that I have to put on my Facebook over the next 10 days. So yeah, week 4 wasn't that great. But I will see you guys on Thursday for my week 5 predictions. Please tune in to Fantasera Football. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram at Fantasera Football 2018. See you guys on Thursday.